I'm going to show you a remix that I just finished this weekend and no one else has seen. One person has seen it. It's a soundtrack of one song, except I'm doing video games. So it's not exactly a fandom. I'm not a fan of video games. I actually had to learn a lot about video games in the process of making them. And also video games, like I would love to play video games, but I don't want to go around shooting people and ripping off their heads, and it's just gross.
I've been playing video games since I was about 5 years old.
I'm a gamer and I enjoy games. I love games. I'm a fan of games.
I'm not a fan of video games.
The reason I wanted to start with that clip right there is just to go ahead and just show that this lady we're talking about a little bit, Anita Sarkeesian, she's willing to say anything to prove her point. Any lie is going to be fine. Whatever she has to say to validate herself in her opinion. And the reason she does that, and the reason she kind of has to do that, is because if she admits that she don't play the games, then she's just going to be a woman trying to tell people what men think about an industry she don't know anything about. She don't know what it's like to be a guy. She doesn't know what it's like to be a guy playing these games. And she don't really know what the games are about because she don't play those. So what you really have when the lie's removed is just some lady talking out her ass. And the meat of her topic is really just, she's trying to say that video games objectify women, they're sexist toward women, that they just use women as decoration in games.
This advertising strategy of using women and representations of women as decorative elements to try and sell games to boys and men soon became the norm for the burgeoning industry. In ad after ad throughout the 80s and 90s, we see women placed on display alongside arcade games, conflating the two and presenting them both as toys to be played with.
Now, the games we're talking about, it's a male-dominated demographic. Now, you'll see some stats. Like I saw one article talking about gamers today are 49% to 51% women. Well, like the majority of gamers are women. So obviously we have to advertise to them. They're a big part. They're at least half of the demographic. But that's a little bit misleading. When we're talking about that stat, we're talking about all games. We're talking about apps. We're talking about anything. All the little mobile games, all the mobile phone apps. That's all getting wrapped up as if you play that, you're a gamer. For this poll, for this little statistic. And we're not exactly talking about Angry Birds and shit when we're talking about sexism in video games. We're talking about the games she's talking about. We're talking about Hitman. We're talking about Mass Effect. She had Assassin's Creed in there. What all did she use as an example? Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Hitman, Assassin's Creed. It's some other ones. I'd have to look back through her video for it. And the games we're talking about, though, are console games for the most part, played by 70 to 80% male. So as a result, the stuff you're going to see in the game, these games are getting made for guys. So yeah, it might be some ladies in the game. They might have the ladies kind of sexual. That's what guys are after. It's just advertisement. The problem we're talking about in video games isn't a problem to video games. If it's a problem at all, it's a problem of society. Video games are just mirroring it. Any kind of show, you watch a sports show, they usually have like that a little hot female reporter for the sideline. There's a reason for that. Anytime you watch like the comedy shows, like I can't remember what's his name? Adam Carolla? No, not fucking Carolla. I can't remember. It's like the Man Show or something. Anyway, you had like chicks jumping on trampolines and stuff like that. Is that, if you want to make an argument that's not appropriate, yeah, whatever. But it's not exclusive to video games. Video games aren't doing any more or any less to push that. So she's attacking these games. It's the same reason you don't see like Cosmopolitan have like fucking guns on the cover. But on to the games themselves we're talking about, and you can tell she don't play the games because she just totally misconstrues the games. Like in Hitman, she uses this scene. In Hitman, she uses this scene right here. I'll put it on.
So in many of the titles we've been discussing, the game makers have set up a series of possible scenarios involving vulnerable, eroticized female characters. Players are then invited to explore and exploit those situations during their playthrough. The player cannot help but treat these female bodies as things to be acted upon, because they were designed, constructed, and placed in the environment for that singular purpose. Players are meant to derive a perverse pleasure from desecrating the bodies of unsuspecting virtual female characters. It's a rush streaming from a carefully concocted mix of sexual arousal connected to the act of controlling and punishing representations of female sexuality.
But now that right there, that's not further from the truth. She says, like, you can't play that game without, you can't help but to use these women, because that's what they're put there for. The women are in the game, and yes, they're NPC, and you can't, she's right, you can't get to know them. I don't know what that chick's hopes and dreams are. I have no idea what it is. No more than the guard you're about to shoot in the face. I have no idea what his hopes and dreams are either. Any of these games, it's across the board. Like, I can walk up, they've got black NPCs in the game. I can walk up to any black guy in that game. I can't learn shit about him. I can't have a relationship, but I can gun him down. Grand Theft Auto, if you've played it, the streets are just covered with pedestrians, all races, all genders. They're walking around. You can walk up to any one of them. You can't learn shit about them, but you can kill them. So, I mean, if the fact that I can attack a woman in the game, that it's there just strictly for the environment, is sexist, then I mean it's even across the board. You can kill white dudes, you can kill black dudes, you can kill white girls, black girls, Asian guys, black guys, Hispanic guys. None of it matters. You can't meet any of them. You can't interact with any of them. So it seems like it'd be more sexist to make it to where you can't do that to women. You can kill and objectify anybody you want to, but you can't do it to women. Why? They're too sensitive? They can't take it? I mean, it seems like to have to cater to them like that would be more demeaning. Why do I have to handle them with kid gloves? Why can't they be equal? Why can't we? Because everything else is equal. You've got games where you can play the female protagonist. You've got games where you can play the male protagonist. You've got games with weak guys. You've got games with weak girls. And the game she's really talking about has most of everything. And then, like Mass Effect, she's complaining about Mass Effect. And Mass Effect, that's like, I mean, for the games I've played, that's the one. I mean, as far as equal rights, you can play as a male or a female in the game. Both of them strong characters. You can take either character any direction you want. You can be a female main character. You can be ruthless. You can be merciful. You can have a heterosexual relationship. You can have a homosexual relationship. You can be in an actual relationship. You can have casual sex. It's whatever you want. And in the game, there's no weak female characters in that game. The main protagonist is strong. Tally, Miranda, Jax, Leora, all strong female characters. Ashley, what's her last name? Ah, fuck, I can't remember. The Ashley girl. Jenkins, maybe? Ashley Jennings. Either way, she's another strong character. Everybody in the game is. But she uses this as an example because you can see a little bit of blue boob, I guess, a little bit of side blue boobie. That makes the whole game shitty because there's a strip club in it.
Incidentally, this trope also exists in games that may allow players to pick a female avatar. But the presence of a woman inhabiting the role of protagonist, even if well developed, doesn't do anything to negate the fact that non-playable sex objects are still specifically coded to pander to a presumed heterosexual male ego.
Another problem she has is the damsel in distress, and that's in there. You've got some games where you got to save the princess, things like that. The female character is rather weak, and so they have to be saved by the guy. But once again, I mean, you've got games where you can play the strong female. You can save the day as the female. Dragon Age, she mentions, that's one of them. You can play that game through as a female character, and you can sacrifice yourself to save the world. Or you know, once again, you've got all kinds of options. You can end that game a trillion different ways, all based on how you want to play it. And all the options are open to women. I mean, you can go through that however you want to, however you wish, and save the day. But the games that have females as the victim, I mean, once again, that's just part of society. As much as you want to argue that men and women are equal and you can have a strong princess saves herself, shit goes down in most households. It's the dude having, you know, tonight, 2 in the morning, somebody breaks in my house. If this becomes physical, it ain't my wife fighting the battle. She's gonna be getting the kids, trying to get the hell out the house. I'm the one that's got to run and dive on the fucking lunatic with the knife. That don't mean women's weaker, but physically, women's weaker. So, video games are objectifying everybody. It's just for some reason we're not allowed to do that to women. We gotta baby them. Which sounds an awful funny thing to say when we're talking about treating everybody equal.